I was listening to the story it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses. It would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse, trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the 30-30. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. I am your host, Wayne, joined as always. You went the wrong way, ma'am.
You're over here.
Joined as always by my partner in crime, the lovely and talented Miss Tiffany. How you doing, ma'am?
Hey, I'm okay. Y'all are gonna keep me sane, so we're good.
Keep you sane?
Yeah, you're gonna keep me sane.
Would you be insane otherwise?
Yeah, I'd be pacing the floor and all that good stuff because Carrie's going to get her MRI, and
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
it's awful late to be getting an MRI, right?
Well, when I asked Zach about that, I said, why do they schedule it? Because they had two available dates. We could have done it September 17th at 10 p.m. or tonight at 8:30 p.m. And he said he really doesn't know why they do that. It could be that they're just so dang busy during the day that they just schedule them at night.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they're incompetent.
Well, this is a different entity that we're working with, and
yeah.
So,
well, first off, kudos to you. You did an amazing job Saturday, filling in all by yourself.
It was so fun.
Yeah, you were nervous about it, and I tried to give you a little pep talk before, like, dude,
thank you.
Who is Cat Chaser? $2. Thank you so very much for the super sticker. Try to give you a little pep talk. You have been doing this long enough. You are good enough. You need to have more
confidence in myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you went out there and just killed it.
It was so fun. There was a slight delay during the show. So, and she texted me the day afterwards, and she was like, I'm so sorry. I feel like I ran over top of you. And I said, well, it's fine. It's hard to do when there's a delay because you're trying to line it up.
Delays are probably the hardest thing to deal with.
Yeah.
When you're doing this. But you did a great job.
I appreciate it. I definitely felt, I went into the bedroom after the show and I was like, oh my God, I want to do that again. I was all jacked up that night.
Well, I mean, I can jump off here and let you handle it tonight.
No, see, because I haven't researched David, so I'm clueless.
Yeah. As Tiffany just said, we got David backstage. David, he didn't put his last name, so I'm not going to put it out there. I don't know if he wants it out there or not. But he is known as Bigfoot Forensics. We were talking to David, hanging out backstage, and I made the mistake of asking him the most gruesome, because he's a CSI investigator out of Roswell, Georgia, like around the Atlanta area. And I made the mistake of asking him the most gruesome case he had ever worked, and he was very vivid in his descriptions, and it was pretty bad. It it was freaking terrifying, to be
Yeah.
honest. To
Yeah.
think that it was real life. It's not a movie.
It is not as seen on TV.
The things that this gentleman experiences is real life. He sees the stuff that we watch on TV, and he has taken what he has learned from that and devoted it to the Bigfoot study, which I think is amazing. And I'm very, very proud and honored to mention that David is actually a member of my organization, Manimal Research. He attended the Squatch Out a couple weeks ago. He was a huge hit there. Everyone was talking to him. I couldn't get enough. And then he asked me about joining, reaching or becoming a member of Manimal Research and doing some investigations. And it was a no brainer. Like, yeah, man, come on. We would love to have you. So I am so very excited. We've got a couple PhDs now. We've got a crime scene investigator now that's a member of Manimal Research. Manimal, we're making moves. We're doing some pretty cool stuff. If you are interested, would like to get out in the woods and do some investigating, we would love to talk to you about that. If you are having any kind of activity at your property and you would like for some of our investigators to come out and check it out, we would love to talk to you about that. You can get a hold of me at either manimalresearch@yahoo.com or get me at Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com. Yeah, that's my little shameless plug for more research before we get going. What we got?
I'm down to help out.
There you go. Holler at me, Appalachian Tales of Terror. I would love to talk to you. We got all kind of new people in tonight.
No, I'm loving it.
That's really cool. I hope you guys will hit that subscribe button before you leave if you haven't done so already.
Yes.
All right, let's pay some bills, ma'am.
All right, let's do it.
As I was saying, please hit that subscribe button before you leave. If you are new to the program tonight, we would love to have you help Miss Tiffany and I continue to grow this show. Please hit that subscribe button.
And if you would like to be on with Wayne and I, you can reach out to both of us, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com or me, Tiffany at paranormalworldproductions.com. We have plenty of dates available for October, so please email one of us.
Want to ask everyone to head over to paranormalworldproductions.com. Check out our website. You can get a glimpse at all the other shows under the studio's umbrella. This one, Sasquatch Odyssey, that Bigfoot podcast, which is a personal favorite of mine. Basement Hangout, Kentucky X-Files, all of that good stuff. Pick you up some merch. You can't do any of that unless you head over to paranormalworldproductions.com.
And if you have any questions for tonight's guest, which I'm sure you will, please just put them in all capital letters. We highlight them and save them for the last 10 minutes of the show. Then we do a rapid fire question answer session. As long as they're all in capital letters, I will see them and be able to grab them.
Yes. Please help our girl out in that aspect. All right, guys. Also, one more thing before we get going. We have our memberships open. If you would like to become a member of Paranormal Odyssey, if you'd like to be a PO freak, we would love to have you. It is $1.99 a month, $2, less than $2. Can't even get a Coke for that. You get extra content. You get members only lives. You get access to our members only Discord. Just all kind of cool stuff. We would love to have you. Please consider becoming a member. I know we got all kind of new people tonight. I mentioned that earlier. So if any of you would like to become a member, we would love to have you. Please click that join button. All right. You got anything else, ma'am?
I don't. There's all kinds of little crises popping up. My middle daughter just FaceTimed me and I declined it. And I said, I'm in a show. Your dad's with Carrie. Because I thought she was calling to check on Carrie. And she's like, no, my ceiling's leaking. I was like, maintenance. Call maintenance. Mom can't fix it.
Let's see. Mr. Kevin Jones, are you bringing that crazy Zegan? You spelled it all wrong, bro. Spell it in here tonight. You just butchered it.
He
But
spelled it like you pronounced it.
yeah. Real quick, before we get going, I just popped up something for Mr. Kevin Jones. You guys know that Kevin he's my brother from another mother. I love the man. He's awesome. He is a member of Manimal Research. The Squatch Out would not have happened if it weren't for him. He and his family suffered a tremendous loss this past week. When I say he and his family, especially his daughter, Avery. Her fiance, Kevin's soon to be or would have been son-in-law, took his own life last week. I think it was a week from tonight. It was sometime last week, about a week ago. His name was Landon. I got to spend some time with Landon in the woods. He was interested in Bigfoot. We went camping one night. He, myself, and Kevin, and here in East Tennessee. One of the most respectful and polite young men I have ever known. He was in the Army, just days away from getting out. He had spent a couple of tours in Iraq and I guess had seen some stuff. He was dealing with PTSD and fighting these battles silently. He never reached out for any help. It was a complete shock to everyone. And he took his own life. It is very tragic. Just want to ask everyone, please keep Kevin and his family, Avery especially, in your thoughts and prayers, and Landon's family, of course. Landon, it happened in California. That's where he lived. That's where he was stationed. He had, like I said, he was days away from getting out of the Army. He had already enlisted in the Tennessee Guard. And barely 22 years old. Young man had his entire life ahead of him. There's not enough. I mean, we need to do something for these soldiers, for these young men and women that they volunteer to put their lives on the line to protect us, and the things that they see impacts them. And we need to do better. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. But just please keep Kevin and Avery and their entire family and Landon's family in your thoughts and your prayers, because this is an extremely difficult time for all of them. I've been talking to Kevin. Kevin's my brother. He is one of my favorite people on this planet. I love him. I do. When we stop talking, when we hang up the phone, we say, I love you. And that's the truth. I love this man. He's amazing. Avery, I don't know you, but I think the world of your dad. So please keep these people in your thoughts and your prayers, because they are going through a very difficult time. What does Kevin say?
He said we have a lot to do for our military personnel and first responders, and thank all of you. We are family here. We are. We are a very close-knit family here.
Yeah. I love you, buddy. I really do. All right, that is enough of all of that. We are 15 minutes in, and we got our good friend and animal research investigator backstage, Mr. David Ziegen. I'm not sure.
No, Zigan.
He's gonna help me out right here. Which one is it, buddy?
Zagan.
Zigan.
It was none of them. It was none of them.
Oh, see, we were over enunciating everything.
Zagan. That's awesome, buddy. What like background is that?
It's German.
German. Okay. I'm a Tethero, and I'm German. I don't know a whole lot about it, but yeah, that's really, really cool.
So before we get started, I have to say that since you outed what agency that I work at, I now have to say that everything that I say is my opinion and my opinion only. In no way reflects what my department believes or, you know.
Should I not have done that? I'm sorry.
Whoops.
No.
Can we retract that?
It's okay. It's okay. I just needed to say it that whatever I talk about here, they're solely my opinion.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. All right, David, as I mentioned, you were at the Squatch Out this year. You are a brand new member of Manimal Research. I want to hear how you got your interest in Bigfoot and all that stuff. But before that, what did you think of the Squatch Out?
The Squatch Out was extremely interesting. I originally went there with the plan of not really participating or engaging in conversation, but really just observing and listening to everybody else to see what see what their different beliefs are, how people approach things. The last thing I wanted to do was step on any toes or make anyone mad or but I ended up, everyone was so friendly, I ended up not really having a choice but to have conversations and really get involved in it. So kudos to you for putting together such a great thing with a bunch of good people, because that was primarily why I talked to you later about joining your organization.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. How where did your original interest in Bigfoot come from?
It happened slowly and organically over a long period of time. So I've always been out in the woods. Started off with a good dear friend of mine. He used to be a sergeant, now retired. He kind of took me under his wing, showed me how to find deer, and I tried hunting for a bit, really didn't like it. And then my brother, who was basically trained by somebody from a plantation down south on how to track and find turkey. So not just sitting in a little stand, if you will, or blind and calling them, but actually learning how to go out and find them and track them. And it was a lot more involved than I ever thought it was going to be. But that ended up getting me out in the woods a lot, and a lot during the dark by myself. And so I had a few experiences here and there. And then it became a thing about, telling those little experiences around the campfire. And then I really got into unwinding from my job. I have a fire pit / fireplace outside in the backyard. And I sit there on my Fridays, which is Thursdays. I build a fire and I decompress. And I ended up going down the rabbit hole, watching every show that I could find on this kind of thing. And then it became background noise while I studied and read other things while it was playing on the tablet off to the side by the fire. And I think over a period of time, I started picking up on, because of what I do, different patterns and things. And I started wondering, like, what are we really doing in this? Well, I say we now because I've joined.
Yeah.
But in this world then, I was wondering, like, what was the real approach? What were we trying to, or what were they trying to accomplish? And how I really got into it was after so like you said, I'm certified crime scene investigator, certified latent fingerprint examiner. uh, cross-trained in bloodstain pattern analysis, shooting incident reconstruction. We do crime scene reconstructions where I'm at. And I decided to try to apply my latent fingerprint and the dermal ridge skills to Bigfoot. I thought, hey, why not? And that's what really happened. I started looking at all the different foot impressions I could find on the internet and quickly found that I was never really going to get what I wanted because they don't really exist. And what that was we're taking photographs of these foot impressions, but they're not to the quality that, say, a footwear examiner or a latent fingerprint examiner would need to actually do an analysis on. So that's kind of where this whole thing started was, hey, maybe if I start having YouTube shows and talking about how to collect evidence, maybe one day I'll actually get to analyze something really good. So it was kind of, it's a twofold thing. I'm trying to get the information out there so maybe I can get something in so I can look at it. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how it started.
Okay, so man, there's just so many questions that I have. I mean, how long have you been doing this, David? What is your background? How did you start out? What led you into the forensics?
So I'm coming up on my 21st year in law enforcement. I started just like everybody else in uniform. Um, bad things happen. I'm sorry, my brain just went back to uniform days. But so
Mhm.
I ended up going into CID, basically the detective division at my last agency. I'm sorry, I heard a loud bang in the background of my house. All right, so
Hmm.
I have earphones on, so I really can't hear what's going on. So, joined the detective division at the last agency, started focusing on interviews and interrogations. Did voice stress for a while, which I believe is just a bunch of hooey. Um, then I became a polygraph examiner, and I did that for a number of years, and that just kind of coincided with my regular duties as a detective. So I was a persons detective, which is like a major crimes detective. And then when I was here at this agency, I was starting to get a little burned out. What had happened was we had call after call after call, and they had designated what we call persons detectives, or the major crime guys, to only being the ones going to those calls. So we were getting called out regularly over and over and over. And I told them that I was starting to get burned out. And then a spot opened up in crime scene. And honestly, once I joined, it became I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. I should have been doing this all along. So then they let me go to the National Forensic Academy, the body farm up in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And then I developed a love for fingerprints, which worked out well because my partner hates them and he focuses on something else. And it's just been it's kind of like a doctor thing where you love it so much. So on the side, like at the house, you'll find me reading about it and trying to keep up with the latest papers and journals on the next study that's been done. I'd started off just doing it as I don't want to get caught in court not knowing what I'm talking about, to, oh my God, this is interesting and I can't stop. And it became addictive. So now I'm kind of focusing on those dermal ridges and understanding the distortion and the context for when they're deposited. So it can help you just, figure out which movement, what was happening while it was being deposited. And I'm just kind of trying to take it to another level.
Okay, so what have you seen, David, in your time and your profession? What have you seen that led you to believe that what you do can be useful in determining whether this cryptid creature even exists or not? I mean, have you seen? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes. Um, so what happened was I started reaching out to, when I realized I couldn't find anything online that I wanted. I reached out to a lot of the major organizations, to a lot of the big names, And I had a couple of the big names get back in touch with me and actually start feeding me some things. I'm guessing it was testing me kind of thing. So I provided them with some pretty extensive reports on some casts and some hand impressions, things like that. And what I quickly realized from talking to some of them and seeing some photographs, it made me realize that I think there's a lot more to it than I think I think Bigfoot has been romanticized a lot.
Mhm.
And I think we're getting away from, well, and I asked a lot of people at the Squatch out, what was their overall plan for this? Are they doing it for themselves? Are they doing it to try to prove Bigfoot exists? Are they actually doing research where they're collecting data? And I got a bunch of uh, varying responses. Some of them are, some of them aren't, some of them don't really care. They're just in it for the experience, and that's fine.
Mhm.
But I think what really drew me in was some of the footprints that I've seen are making me feel like it is worth my time to explore a little further. And if I can find some that have some good dermal ridges in them, then maybe I can help out with the search, because I don't know everything. I just know this area and crime scene and some other things. So if I come across other stuff, I'll defer to the other experts, because honestly, not everybody is an expert in everything. So we have to defer to each other.
Yeah. David, does Bigfoot exist?
I have no clue.
Okay. So are you a believer? Are you a skeptic? You don't know.
I have no clue. I think, unfortunately, from what I've seen in my short time in the last 6 months of doing this, the term believer is being used in conjunction with almost like a religious tone. Because if you say something, then you start getting called you're a non-believer, for questioning something. And I don't really know where to go with the believer thing, or I believe in the possibility that it can exist, and I've seen some evidence that leads me or points me in the direction that there may be more of a 50-50 shot kind of thing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what I was looking for.
And I've had some other experiences in the woods that may not necessarily have anything to do with Bigfoot, but it makes me think that if those things happen, then how do you rule out the possibility of something else? Right. So
Like what? Give us an example, David. What are some experiences that you've had personally in the woods that kind of left you scratching your head?
I've only had two really, and they're kind of related. Um, so one time I was coming back from finding the group of turkey and the tom, and it was about 9:30 at night. They had just roosted, and I had about a mile and a half, somewhere in there. I really wasn't paying attention. I just knew my way. But I was about if you can picture a ridge top, and instead of walking on the top, I was walking about a quarter of the way down from the ridge, and I was following a deer trail, and I heard something back over to my right that was up top, and I just thought it was a deer I'd startled or something, because in the evening when I'm on the way back, I run across those on a regular basis. But it sounded like somebody was walking and kind of trailing off back behind me a little bit. So it started to unnerve me because it was going on for quite a while. So I stopped and I put my back up to a tree and just I was facing the direction of the ridge, and I stayed there for about 10 minutes. It felt longer, but when I was leaning against a tree, I heard nothing. So I started to walk on, and as I walked on, it started again. So I immediately thought it was one of my friends who were back at camp, but that had come out towards where I was. And I said, "Hey, that's a good way to get shot, man." And there was no response. So I said, "Okay." So I kept on walking. And then I decided that maybe I was going to go down to the bottom of the valley, maybe come up the other side, because it was going to circle back around. And when I looked down, I saw this red LED light, and it was just kind of moving slow, kind of like a drone. No sound, just down at the bottom of the valley. It wasn't that far down there. It's not like North Georgia mountains. I was just in Adairsville. But it was this red LED light, and it was just kind of cruising along. And when I saw that, I totally didn't hear the footsteps anymore because I was focusing on what the heck is this. And then it started again walking next to me. So I started speeding it up, and then I did the thing that you're never supposed to do. But my brain was telling me it's not a predator, or not any of the ones that I knew in that area. I was thinking person, honestly, but I was very, very confused by the red light. And when all that stuff started coming together, it made it a little, unnerving. And I got closer and closer, and I was able to see the campfire light up in the trees. So I started running. I'm not gonna, I ran, and it was like the absolute worst thing that you could do tactically, but I did. So the second time, my brother brings his son, who's 10 at the time, and it's his first time camping. So we're sitting around the fire, about 10:30ish. And he says, "Uncle David, what's that?" And I looked off to my right, and I saw that same stupid LED light cruising through the trees. And at first, my brain told me it was like a cherry from a cigarette because that's how small it looked. But it was an actual just red light, and it was moving so smoothly through the trees that I could recreate it with a drone if I knew I wasn't going to hit a tree with it, right? But there was no sound. So those are my two things. I mean, you hear things. I've had something hiss at me. I don't know what that was. I couldn't find it, and it followed me for several ridges. But I'm thinking it's a possibility that was maybe a territorial owl or something, because I know they can hiss, but it was really loud. I don't know. Those are my three things in the woods, and they don't really, I mean, aside from the red LED thing, it really doesn't scream out like paranormal like a lot of the other stories I hear. But
So, David, these LED lights, would you say that's what most people are calling an orb?
so for me, when I picture orb, that means, or when I say orb, that means that I can distinguish that it is, it's round. This
Yeah.
looked just like a light.
Yeah.
But I can't call it an orb. I don't know if it was, in the dark. You see, that's the problem with the analytical mind, right? For all I know, it was a long linear thing that was just turned this way. You see what I'm getting at? I don't know. I can't prove that it's, in a globe shape. But it was really small. It looked to be really small.
Now, did you smell anything?
No, nothing.
Okay.
That's a great question. People should ask that more often. But no, I didn't smell anything. I didn't hear any other weird noises. For the red light thing, other than the footsteps the first time, the red light thing is like silent, like an eerie silent. Because there was no other insect activity or anything going on, which was kind of weird. Usually the crickets and cicadas are going pretty good about that time of year.
Yeah, man, what the hell is that? But people talk about it being just bone death silent. Like, I mean, what is it that just scares the shit out of the insects?
I don't know, but I'll tell you this. And from my point of view, from being a cop on the street for a long time, I worked some pretty bad neighborhoods. And I'll tell you that silence and darkness is your friend, because it means something can't see you, or you can hear it coming too. So when it's super quiet and you can hear a pin drop in the woods, I'm good with that. That means I can hear something coming a mile away.
You know what, man? That's smart. I have never considered that. Anytime, because I've been in those situations where you're in the woods, you're completely creeped out because all sound has stopped. You can't hear anything. But to hear your logic, that makes so much sense.
When I've done
That's
that,
an
I've just stepped
advantage.
into the shadow. How the moon can make shadows from the trees and the forest and
Mhm.
stuff. I just step into one of those shadows, and it kind of takes you out of the moonlight and just listen.
That, yeah.
But you know,
Okay.
that's from sneaking up on like possible, like home invasions and stuff like that. You learn to do that on a fairly regular basis, right?
Yeah.
Tactical 101.
Tactical 101. There you go.
Stop and listen.
David, if Bigfoot is real, if it's proven tomorrow, someone brings in a body,
Right.
what are they?
Who knows?
Well,
That's
your
you just
opinion.
told me that we don't know because we don't have one.
Exactly.
I've heard so many different theories, and I'll say, to each person, prove your side. Right? We don't know until we have one, and even then, I will say that the next argument will be is prove how it got there. Because I understand now that there's a woo side, there's a
Mm-hmm.
just a undiscovered relic hominoid. So the woo side is going to say prove how it got there, and you're not going to be able to because it's going to be dead, and you won't have had any communication with it. And therein lies that big conundrum, right?
So what's the best way? What's the best way to prove this thing exists?
Oh man, see, now it almost feels like you're trying to dig into what is my real belief system, right? Because each side is going to require a different approach, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm going to play politically correct on this, and I'm going to stay in my lane and say I'm going to focus on friction ridges, thermal ridges, impression evidence, and things like that, and actually learning how to collect some of this evidence properly. Because I see things where people are saying they're collecting swabs and things like that, and then I see some of the pictures that they're taking, and they're just they're great. They're great souvenirs, but it's not research.
Yeah, I agree.
And I just did a small presentation, the other day about photographing foot impressions, and in no way, shape, or form am I advocating that photographing everything the right way takes the place of casts or takes the place of 3D imaging. It's just one of the tools that we have to start getting right.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to take a body?
I don't think it needs to, but for some people, it always will.
I mean, mainstream science, universities, for them to start studying, for them to invest money into going out to research this thing, what is it going to people like you and I, Manimal Research, what are we going to have to give them for them to donate money, to set aside money, to give grants, to go out and find this thing? What are we going to have to do?
So that's going to vary with every institution, unfortunately. Everyone's going to have their own requirements. Everyone's going to have their own beliefs. I approach this, and I'm going to continue to approach it like I would if I was going to have to go testify in a court of law, and I was going to have to present it to a jury, and stuff like that. So for me, like we can convict murderers without having a body, right? We have all that circumstantial evidence. We have other physical evidence that all adds up to that guilty verdict. Now we're talking about criminal justice and not the science community, but that's how I'm going to continue to approach it, because my ultimate goal is not to go out and kill something, but to try to find all the evidence I can and try to find it the right way. Short of, and I think one of the biggest problems we're going to have, well, I think part of what you're getting at is how do we do that? Unfortunately, we're talking about an undiscovered, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest issue we're going to have, I mean, it's going to be bigger than proving a homicide. So even if I said I swabbed something and I used all these procedures, a lot of people aren't going to believe me, especially if something comes back and this DNA is being part human, not, or whatnot. You're almost going to have to video yourself doing it all. from start to finish. Like I found this footprint, I photographed it. I'm about to pour the cast. I'm going to video myself pouring the cast. I'm going to video myself taking the EDA samples, and I'm going to show how I'm packaging it as I do it. That way, when it comes back something weird, you can go back and watch the video and see I did not contaminate this. But it's even getting that hard in regular court sometimes, because we actually have special sterilized fingerprint brushes, sterilized fingerprint powder, sterilized gloves, that after we've used it on one surface and in a homicide that's going to be like an unknown, we don't know who it is, we'll actually bag all that stuff up and put it inside a bag, label, I processed this from this dresser. Now I'm going to open up all new stuff to process something else. That way I'm not accidentally moving DNA from one item to another. So it's gotten that detailed. I mean, we're getting DNA results back now that are so detailed. We're talking about like the likelihood ratio and things like that, where we're getting like 4 and 5 contributors. But at least they're ranking them as who was the
Are there any
greatest contributor is what
are there any DNA reports out there right now that you have seen, David, that really opens your eyes and makes you think that maybe this could be something?
No. But I'm
Okay.
not aware of any. Boy, you're I'm not aware of any actual controlled studies other than that one big one, which I was afraid you were going to go to.
We'll stay away from that one if you want to.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
It's a hot topic.
It is.
But short of that one, I don't know of any others. I know a lot of people that report that they have sent DNA off and it's come back as this, come back as that. But I've talked with some other people who've been researching into where did all these people send this DNA, and they've called all these different labs, and they're having a hard time finding out where this stuff was actually ever sent, or if it was ever sent, or is this just something that they were saying on their podcast or on their show or something like that. But I haven't actually seen any actual research or lab paperwork that says this is it. It's always somebody just saying it.
I don't know what to make of all that, and I'm not going to put you on the spot to make you give your opinion on it or not, because that's not fair. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know. I think we just need to stay away from it.
Well, I'll tell you this, just like I would on the stand, I'm not a geneticist. That is not my wheelhouse, and if I start trying to talk about it like I'm an authority figure on it, I'm going to lose that battle, because someone's going to just text right into this show and they're going to annihilate me.
Yeah.
But I can talk about fingerprints and impressions and things like that.
Well, David, in your opinion, is there enough evidence right now, circumstantial, if this was a lawsuit, if this was court, to convict that Bigfoot is real? Is there enough evidence right now?
I haven't seen it in any casts or foot impressions.
Okay.
But I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying the way it's been presented to me.
So what about like
see it, it's out of focus, stuff like that?
Do you know? Are you aware of any blood samples, feces, anything like that?
I mean, Cliff Barackman has that mattress that something walked across, and I know a way to get DNA off it, but it'll destroy those beautiful footprints that walked across it. There's this item called the MVAC system. It's like a wet dry vac for DNA collection. It basically takes a sterile solution and you basically just run it across, but it's going to take all the dirt and everything off. And basically what it does is it takes everything that you did and it filters it right to a small point in a small tiny filter. So you can get DNA from like an entire pair of pants in the center of one little tiny filter and send it off. So it's all collected in one nice little thing. Now, the problem with that is, you've seen those pictures, it's these big muddy footprints going across the mattress. You'll lose all of that. So,
Yeah, no, I'm I guess I'm not as well versed in this topic as I should be, but what is this mattress that you're talking about?
All right. So I don't know the entire story. I just know that there was an incident at a cabin where a Bigfoot supposedly walked across a mattress and it left.
See, this is all brand new to me. I've not heard any of this, but it's very interesting.
Oh, if you go to Cliff Barrickman's website for their museum, they actually sell posters of the footprints from the mattress on
Okay.
their site, so you can actually look at it and see what they look like.
Okay. So what? So something walked across the mattress?
Oh yeah, but it had dirty feet, so it left foot impressions on the mattress itself, so you could actually see it. So I know he has custody of said mattress, and they have pictures of it and posters and stuff like that.
Okay. David, in your opinion, this is only your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that in order to prove the existence of Sasquatch, do you think that there needs to be a kill program, like an organization that wants to go out and actually shoot one and kill it and bring it in?
No, I don't think that there needs to be that kind of program to prove that one exists. Like I said before, I don't think that you need a dead body to put together enough evidence.
See,
I mean, if you happen to find one that's dead, that's great. But to go out just to kill one, like you said before, we don't know anything about this creature if it exists to the point of its intelligence level. It's society. I mean, sorry, my dog's barking.
Nice.
No, it's a sociological, its culture and things like that. Because I can throw a what if at you and you can say, prove it to me. But maybe one of the reasons we haven't found this creature is because they are so intelligent that maybe they're more intelligent than we are. That's why we can't find them. So we go out and shoot one and we start a war. I mean, I'm taking it to the extremes, right? I've heard so many different extremes on this topic. But
So
I don't think we should be going out and trying to, if we don't know what it is, then I don't think we should be going out and killing it. It's kind of like an alien landing on the planet for the first time, and we go, I'm gonna prove that it exists by shooting it, killing it, and bringing it in front of the world.
So if you're out on a manimal investigation and you have this thing in your crosshairs,
I'm not shooting it.
you're not shooting it.
No, but I have a hard time shooting deer now, so that should tell you something.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Now, if it comes at me and tries to hit me with a stick, yeah, I'm a shoot.
Exactly. I've said that so many times, David.
That's going to be a habit of mine from being a police officer.
On a manimal investigation, we are never, ever, ever going to put out a plan, a strategy to go out and kill one of these things. But if we are on investigation, there's 2 or 3 of us walking in the woods, and one of these things charges and tries to hurt one of us, I'm absolutely going to take it down if I can.
So you tested me, even though I'm already a member.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you agree with that?
Let's see what he thinks, and we'll kick him out later after the show.
No. There's no kicking out. I'm saying if it comes down to protecting myself or a member of my organization or a member of my family, I'm absolutely going to try to take one of these things out.
Of course.
Yeah. But that is
not saying you'd shoot a person for doing the same thing.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. I'm more afraid of people than I am Bigfoot.
And honestly, that's why I carry a sidearm with me when I'm in the woods. It has to do with some of the freaky people that I've run into in the past that lets me know that they're out there. So that's why I carry out there.
That's what I'm
for the animals, but for the people.
Exactly. We've said that so many times. I don't advocate going out looking for these things without some sort of protection, and that's not to protect you from them. It's to protect
I also don't display mine like I'm proud of it. Like like most of the entire time that we were at that the Squatch out, I had one on me and nobody saw it.
Exactly.
All right.
I had one on me too.
All right. There was no reason to do that.
But David, didn't you notice that there were some?
Of course. But there's always going to be some.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, let's go to we are about 10 minutes away from an hour, so let's get to some of these questions if you don't mind. David, is verifying Bigfoot with physical evidence your goal, or is it the goal to have an experience?
I would say my first goal is to help teach people how to collect that evidence.
There you go.
That's first part that you asked. I would love to have that come across my desk. Having an experience would just be a bonus. Right now, I have a couple trips lined up, but it's really not. I'm not going out there to try to have an experience. Right now, I'm trying to figure out how these investigations are working, so I can figure out how maybe to either help or just learn more about the whole thing myself. Because I'll be the first one to tell you I've been out in the woods a lot, but I've not been out in the woods a lot looking for Bigfoot. So
There you go.
I'm sure there's a lot of different things that I can be taught as well. But if we could all learn from each other, then I think that would be the best thing.
Yeah. Germlock 10, besides mentally analyzing it, what is your gut telling you?
I think there may be something there.
Okay. As far as
something that we haven't discovered yet.
okay.
But I can't tell you where it came from, how it got there. But I believe that there is something out there. How's that?
Okay. Joe Pat, was there any type of light? What is it? Partice?
Light particle? No, a particle trail. No. There wasn't any type of trail at all. It was just a free floating red light, just kind of slowly.
Good on you for understanding that, because that was over my head. All right, this one, I think I already asked you this one. My good buddy Troy, can Bigfoot be convicted in the court of law based solely on the current evidence?
I will say no, and
Really?
I will say that because on almost everything right now, the arguments that we're having is prove it, right? We have, like if I say something, you can say prove it. If you say something, I can say, well, prove it to me. And I think that's the problem where we're at now. And even with people like me coming along, I would highly suggest that, a lot of experts, including myself in this, that if I write a paper or I say I have some findings, that maybe you should also get a second opinion from another expert and have my work peer reviewed to see if they agree as well, instead of just taking my word for it. Because I think that's part of that problem that we're having in the Bigfoot community is latching on to an expert and using them to fit our narrative, and without having any sort of checks and balances. So I think that needs to start to happen too. So I would highly suggest finding another fingerprint person when I write something and have them check my work.
Okay. Hillary Austin, what do you think of the substance supposedly left by the handprints? It supposedly doesn't wash off without serious work.
Are you a secret agent for somebody? This keeps coming back to haunt me. And I'm currently working with some people. I'm not technically working on that, but that does keep coming up. I think right now the ongoing theory is that it's a thick sebum substance, akin to some of the thicker, gooier sebum mess that's coming from the underneath the gorilla armpits and things like that. So those sebaceous glands, they're found anywhere where there's hair. So if we're saying that Bigfoot is hairy, they're going to have these glands all over their entire body. I think what's interesting about these is how they're leaving these thick prints, but haven't been able to really see any good ones yet to lead me to believe that they're not of human origin. So what I need to see is some good pictures with scales and things like that, stuff where I can see the dermal ridges. Um, so one of the bigger issues I'm having with those kinds of prints is there's a lot of distortion in these photographs where say someone takes their hand and they put it on glass
Yeah.
and then they slide it down and then they go, look how big from here to here this handprint is. And no one understands the distortion that's taking place, that those fingers really aren't that long. It's just a hand that's slid
Yeah.
down glass. And but as far as what that is, I do know that there is a active study going on to try to figure out what that is. But
Okay.
I'm thinking I'm not supposed to say anything other than that.
Okay. All right. I can respect that.
Only because
Troy.
I wouldn't.
Troy in Tennessee, do you have any advice about capturing audio evidence?
Not my world. I'll tell you, I tried on my very first outing with John Baranchak. I went out to the woods with him north of Adairsville, and I put a recorder about probably just over 300 yards. It probably felt longer, but it's 300 yards from a spot that we walked 100 yards into. And he did a yell. I tried to find a stick, and that's where the Owls Playing Baseball show that I did came from, because I couldn't find a stick to hit a tree. Every time I pick it up, it'd fall apart and it'd smack. And my first thought was, well, how are the Bigfoots making this exact noise every single time, where people calling it a wood knock? And I can't find a stick to hit a tree and make a decent sound. So how are they doing it the same way every time? And I turned and I was like, John, are they like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But so I have my dog whistle. I have a border collie and I train her on a whistle, and I have this cool whistle called the Logan whistle. And it actually does a varying degree of different tones and things like that. You almost have to learn how to play it like an instrument. So I blew that a couple times, and I recorded the times, and I made sure the time was right on my recorder that I put out so I could cross-reference any noises that we made. And I couldn't hear his yell, and I couldn't hear my whistle. And it was only 300 yards away, and it was due to the insect activity. And I had that stupid little Zoom H1N it has a lot of noise. They say it's a good one to begin with, but you end up trying to filter out so much noise from it. It looks like it's going to be an expensive endeavor. But I did get something that sounded like knocks, and I did get something that sounded like a growl. But unfortunately, the background noise was so good, I honestly can't tell you. I would say you're going to have to spend money on a good recorder to get the noise out. I mean, that's just from my experience, but I'm not an audio expert. That's just been me playing around with it. I am a gadget person. So,
well, I think it's awesome that you mentioned my great friend Dr. John Baranchak. I love that man. He is a brother to me. He's been a part of animal research for the longest, and he is an amazing guy. I'm glad that you got to go out with him.
Yeah, he took me out for my very first time, and I did have a funny moment with him when we were sitting around the fire on this dirt road, and I decided I was going to go use the bathroom, and I walked around the fire was creating a nice little light, and I was going to walk off onto the road into the shadows where he couldn't see me. And as soon as I stepped onto the shadows, I heard something slide across the gravel like someone dragging their foot, and it was right in front of me. And I had forgotten to bring my gun with me, which, by the way, I got roasted for at work for going to meet someone for the first time with no gun and camping in the woods with them. But I turned around, and all John saw was me like kind of tiptoeing and hopping back into the firelight, going, nope. And he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. Something was right in front of me and I couldn't see it, and it slid across the gravel. He's like, what do you think it was? I'm like, I don't know. Like, it could have been anything large that dragged something through the gravel, but it was fairly loud. And
Yeah. All right, David, if you don't mind, take a second, buddy, and tell everybody where they can find you. Just anything you want to promote real quick.
oh, seriously, it's Bigfoot Forensics. I have a YouTube channel called Bigfoot Forensics, and that's pretty much where I'm at.
I don't know what happened to him. He just checked out.
Well, I feel like I got off easy tonight because they didn't have a lot of questions, so that's nice.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you one
Mhm.
while we're waiting to see what happened with Wayner. When you have a novice, like say for example me, okay, I found something in my yard. It's just one, and I took a picture of it. I messed with the contrast. I tried to clean it up. Did not take a print of it. Never done that before. What would you recommend to the novice that goes out and finds something in the woods?
No matter what, that first close-up picture where you take the picture of the footprint, see how my hands are filling up the frame here?
Mhm.
That footprint needs to fill up the entire frame, and you need to be parallel to the surface. If you're taking a picture, if this is the ground, whoop, there we go. This is the ground, and my camera is like this, it can make stuff look elongated and give the appearance of something being longer or shorter than what it should be. It needs to be parallel to the surface, but you also need to put it into context by taking other pictures of the surroundings of where it was found.
Yes.
Because, I've shown it's one of our examples that we give for presenting footprints in court, where I take a picture on our police property in this mud, and I say, "Look what I found on the backside of the house." So pretty much anywhere I tell you where it's gonna be, you're gonna believe me, until an attorney says, "Well, where exactly was this? Can you show me where you found this?" And now you have a problem. So then I back up and I show that same picture behind one of our big motor barns with the motorcycles park. And all of a sudden you realize you are not in the woods, not behind the house. You're actually in a fenced in area. So I think a lot of those, sensational things, I'm not saying anyone's doing it on purpose because everyone wants to show the good shot. But if you ask them for more, there should be more, to tell the whole story. But
Right.
I've parallel to the surface with a scale. And then I had one guy send me one with a vape laying next to it. And when I asked him, I said, "How long is the vape?" And he said, "Hold on, let me look it up on Amazon." And I was like, "Okay. All right." I was like, "This is going good."
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
All right.
I appreciate you taking the time to hang
No
out
problem.
with us tonight. So, I mean, probably the most technical interview I've ever given. You're great at what you do, buddy. I appreciate it. You are a very, very welcome member of our organization, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for us.
I look forward to it as well. Thank you. Thanks for
All
having me.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for taking the time to hang out. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. You do too.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Oh, I'm on the wrong side now.
Yeah, let me fix that real quick. There
Yeah.
you go.
Can't be on the left. Gotta be on the right.
All right. Man, how interesting is that guy? I've been watching CSI for I don't know how long, and then to get to actually know someone that does it, I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. And I like that it brings a whole new skill set to the Bigfoot research.
Yeah,
It's definitely needed.
it definitely is. We need somebody that is very, very scientific minded, and that is him. And my good buddy Dr. John Branchalk told me about him long, long ago, and he was very right. I appreciate that.
Yep, I think I think he's going to be a very good commodity to have within your organization for sure.
Yeah, I think so. All right, you got anything else, ma'am?
Yes, you will be leaving, but you will be back Tuesday.
Well, let me throw this up here real quick. Where is it? Anybody that is going to be in the Springfield, Missouri area, I hope that you will come out and hang out with me and my very, very good friend, Brian King Sharp. We will both be presenting at the 3rd annual Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference. There's also a camp out afterward, and we will both be participating in that. And I can't tell you how excited I am. I'm leaving Friday for this event. Going to be gone till Tuesday, and I am just going to enjoy the hell out of myself. I can't wait. I want to get away from everything and just unwind and get in the woods and have a great time. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be so fun. It's going to feel like forever before we come back on here again because we don't have another show until, well, somebody needs to book with us for the 1st of October.
We'll get somebody.
Yeah. Oh, and we have Spooky Sundays. It's going to start this Sunday. So I will do that recording probably tomorrow or Thursday and get that to Wayne. And you can look forward to that.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
Yes, I'm excited.
All right. Let's get out of here, ma'am.
All right. You guys have a good night. Thank you for coming. As always, thank you for showing your love and support. And we'll talk to you later.
All right, guys. Thank you so very much for everything that you do. Please keep those rates and reviews coming. We love you. We thank you. Until we talk to y'all again, y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Bye.